Welcome to the Low Blow Show, where we tell stories, talk shit, and spread love. I'm your host, Immortal Storm, along with my boy, Nick. If I may preface things, being that this is the first episode, Nick and I have recorded perhaps 6 hours worth of content. We've really just been winging it. We've just been meeting up, pressing record, and talking. So these first few episodes, there's really not even an intro. It's just straight to it. We talk things from Kendrick and Drake, covering the entire timeline between them, Dragon Ball Z memories after Akira Toriyama passed away, John Cena memories after he announced his retirement. We talk all things entertainment. I hope you find the discussions entertaining and interesting enough to stick around. I hope you enjoy. Without further ado, let's just get straight to it. Today, I wanted to talk the Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef. That's mostly what this episode is going to be about. Because we haven't talked so much about it. I mean, we be in the car riding or hanging out, and there's those catchy one-liners or whatever that we just be saying randomly.
That's true.
Kendrick got so many, but we didn't really go in depth on track by track discussing our thoughts as shit released and such. So I figured we could finally really do that, because I wanted to record it, because I think we have opinions and we share thoughts. We can go back and forth and talk for days about any given topic.
That's true.
So I wanted to record this and put it out there.
Okay.
So first of all, I guess let's discuss the artists involved in this whole thing in particular. There's Kendrick Lamar, there's Drake, there's also J. Cole.
Barely.
But in the overall story arc of this fucking thing,
right.
Let's start with are you a fan of all these guys here, or how much of their music were you really into before this whole beef? You know me, I've never listened to one Drake album in full, but I don't know about you exactly.
I mean, first of all, hi, I'm Jason Kelsey. No.
Yeah, we should have introduced ourselves. I mean, the names will be on the fucking screen or wherever you're listening.
No, I mean, I hate the Eagles. But anyways, see, I've always been a big Cole fan. I've been a bigger Kendrick fan. I'm not going to sit here and lie that I've been a Drake fan. I'll probably say some of his R&B hits had me doing this shit, but I can't say I'm really a Drake fan. Can't say I've ever been a big fan of his at all. Has he put out decent music? I have people around me that listen to him. So I mean, I tried to be as unbiased as I could about this whole beef. But yeah, I would say I listened to mostly Kendrick and J. Cole, more so J. Cole, a little bit more than Kendrick. But when this beef first started happening, I thought it was just going to be a forgotten thing, last time, way back when Kendrick first dissed Drake, and Drake just kind of won a Grammy and just let it go and didn't do nothing about it. So
are you referring to the Control verse?
Yes.
Or something else? Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Control verse where Kendrick attacked the whole game again, and only certain people responded and everything. Back when Big Sean was like, "Hey, I'm there too." No, you're not. So
we forget it's his song.
It was,
but it was Kendrick.
It was Kendrick's song. But yeah, no. I've always been a fan of J. Cole, Kendrick. They've always put out banger after banger. They're consistent. Not saying Drake isn't, but when this happened after he put out that verse, I was just curious to see who would respond, because we heard how he went at J. Cole, because it wasn't just Drake, it was J. Cole. I think he was taking a couple shots at the game in general, but I was more curious to hear if J. Cole would respond instead of Drake. So I personally thought Drake was just gonna look it over and that's it. But then when I heard that J. Cole had responded, I was that's when I was first kind of, eyes wide open, oh shit, let's see what J. Cole did. Because he's not really a dude that beefs. Well, last beef he had was with fucking that one dude with forget his name.
Lil Pump?
Lil Pump, yeah. Fuck out of here. So he's never really beefed before. So when I heard his was it 7 minute drill? Was it? What was the track? Yeah. And I listened. I'm like, okay, all right. I mean, yeah, like okay, cool. And then what was it? 2 days later, he was just like, oh, shout out to my boy Kendrick. I'm like, what? Okay,
Yeah.
like,
The thing with that track, it was a response, but I wouldn't say it was a diss track back.
like he had his
You
he
know what I
had his
mean?
bars in there, like especially like the one
Yeah.
bar where he talked about like Kendrick taking years between albums to release anything, and I'm just like,
Uh-huh.
I mean, you're not wrong. I was just like
Uh-huh.
it wasn't bad. Like if I was a 1 out of 10, I'd give it like a 7.5. Like it was solid, But I was like,
Uh-huh.
will that hit Kendrick though? I don't know. You know what I mean? So I
Uh-huh.
don't know. I was a little blindsided by Cole, like kind of taking the high road. But then again, I remember this is the dude who just be biking through the city, just chilling, not wanting no trouble. You know what I'm saying? So
Uh-huh.
the first couple days of it, I was like, oh damn, Cole, what the fuck? Like kind of like in a roundabout way, being like, you little kind of a bitch for that. But then like 2 weeks later, especially after like Kendrick kind of you know did what he did, I was just all right, Cole. Maybe it was the best that you that you sat this out and chose your
Everybody,
piece.
everybody's opinion on Cole changed mid beef up,
Hmm.
but my thing is, I've always been fans of Kendrick and Cole. I've never really been a fan of Drake because going way back to when I'd say Drake first got big and came out, like 09 ish.
Hmm.
Like this was right when we were in high school.
True.
And my thing is like, I mean, you didn't go to high school with me. We was in middle school together, so you know everybody I went to school with though.
Yeah.
A lot of the ignorant crowd, those loud ass motherfuckers, like they loved the Waynes and like Nicki came out and Drake came out and like they was just on that hype train. And I was the type of dude where I'm like, I don't like y'all. So like I don't want to like the same things as y'all. So like I just stayed away. Like when the whole Young Money thing was blowing up, like
Yeah, yeah, I
I'm
remember that.
like I'm like I'm not trying to be listening to the same thing as y'all. And I've always been a fan of the lyrical miracle rapidy rap shit. So and
Rappity rap.
so I was like the Eminem stan, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm like I can't listen to no motherfucking Nicki or Drake. Like I just couldn't. So I just never followed his music. Like I don't tune in.
yeah.
But he's such a popular megastar. Like I've always been aware of what he's putting out, though. Even if I'm
Right,
not
right.
listening, like I'm aware and I'm tapped in. And now as an adult, I'm more open-minded and like I like some Drake songs. Like as Kendrick has put it in what was it, Euphoria, he says, I like Drake with the melodies. And I'm like
Yeah.
I'm
I
like,
like
yeah, I
Drake when
like
he act tough.
I, I like One Dance. I like fucking what's the other one from that same album? Uh Whatever. Uh,
Well, come on, Mr.
I,
Open-minded.
I can't even think of it. The one where he's doing this fucking dance.
Yeah, yeah, I know
I
what
don't know
you're
if
talking
it's the
about.
same track. So going into this whole beef, I've actually been impressed with what Drake has put out
Yeah.
until the very end. But
Mm.
I was like, oh shit, I didn't know he had this type of angry bars in him. Like I
That
didn't know
grit in
he.
him, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
But the thing is, like, there's still the rumors, and I guess lot is confirmed that he be having ghostwriters and such, and so there's still that. But like, I've been impressed with what I've heard through this beef, though.
Yeah, yeah.
But for me, when it comes to Kendrick and Cole, I remember, I think the first track I ever heard of Kendrick was "The Recipe" featuring Dr. Dre,
Ooh,
and
okay.
it's really just because of Dre. I'm like, oh, who Dre working with? And then like I heard the shit, and like what stood out to me the most with Kendrick is he pronounces things, like his enunciation and like his inflection on things and the way he switches up his flow, and he keeps it interesting throughout a verse. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Hmm.
Like even if he's not on the multi-syllable rhymes, or even if he's not on like the one liner after one liner, like just the way he arranges how he says his words, he keeps it interesting.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
He's not.
So
He's not like repetitive at all. Like
yeah,
between all his music, like it's always different. It's always. It's always. He seems to always be trying something different. You know what I
uh-huh.
mean? Like how you said when you first heard him on the recipe, like my first shit was Section 80. It was Rigor Mortis. That's the first,
Uh-huh.
like when he first came on the scene, and people was like, "Who is this dude?" And he was already doing tracks with like Busta Rhymes, and it was like, "Who the fuck is Kendrick?" And then I heard Rigor Mortis, and I listened to it. I remember for like days on end because I was just like, "What is this dude saying right now?" Like I'm just, because you've heard Rigor Mortis. Like I remember I showed it to my friend, and he was just like, "That's hot," but I don't know what the fuck he said. Because like the way he breaks the flow of it the whole time is just like it's like he would like he just got like my best way to explain this is gonna sound stupid, but it's like he just got to the track race and then took off and was already blown dude like he was already like running that quickly and just wouldn't stop running. You know what I'm saying? That's the best way I can
Mm,
explain the track. Like Rigor Mortis just sounded like a sprint to the finish. You know what I mean? Like, but that's like
mm.
the first time I heard of Kendrick, so I know exactly where you're coming from with this. So,
Yeah. The recipe, I think, was the first thing I heard, but like right after that, I was like, I gotta go back and hear their first albums, like way back when we was still on iTunes and but before streaming platforms, and some of
yeah,
us actually
they could
might
spend
have bought
money
some
on tracks.
albums if we had the money. I remember, I think I might have been going to Boston with my family, and I bought what's J. Cole's first album? Is it called Cole World?
I think it might have been cool.
And
Is it the one where he's like got the shaved head with like the basketball or some shit on the
yeah,
side? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so like I bought that on iTunes, and I bought Section 80, and I'm like, a drive from here to Boston is 6 fucking hours, so I'm like, I'm gonna bump these back to back while we're on the road there. So that's like the first time I probably heard either of them like full projects. And I love the shit, and I don't know why I haven't replayed Section 80 as much as his other albums, even recently. I don't know why. But I fell in love with what I heard. And it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, instant fan. I'm gonna follow everything you put out, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so let's go through all the tracks here. So we mentioned the Control verse. It's crazy because as this beef was happening recently in 2024, I'd be on Twitter and I'd be seeing people going back to this fucking verse in 2013 and this song in fucking 2015, and it's like, oh, they've been sub dissing each other for the past decade, and we ain't really put two and two together. But
True.
now going back, it's like, oh, he was probably talking about that nigga the whole time. Like,
Right.
you had brought up to me recently when we were riding in the car that he was probably talking about Drake on King Kunta.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
and I was like, oh, I never really thought that. But like now it's like, oh, clearly, yeah, this hate, at least from Kendrick, or I guess between them both, because it's been between
It
from
mainly it
both
mainly
parties.
came from Kendrick though. I'm not gonna lie. It
This
mainly
nigga's
came from
just been a
Kendrick.
hater for a decade, and the thing is, like, it's so weird. I feel like 2024 has been the year of hate. Like
Mm-hmm.
it started with Cat Williams and that. I don't know if you'd call it a podcast or
With
interview with.
Shannon Sharp.
Yeah,
Yep.
I don't know. He was just going in on the industry and like all types of celebrities. He's like, y'all, I'm not gonna repeat the C word, like raccoons. He's like, y'all, he said it, not me. He's like, he's like, all y'all black actors always got to do a movie where you dress up in a dress and humiliate yourselves, and he was on all type of shit, like just,
Oh yeah.
and he was
Name
like
it. He said it. Like.
name dropping other comedians.
Mm-hmm.
But and then like I feel like the ball got rolling with Cat Williams,
Mm-hmm.
and like if you're tapped into wrestling, Drew McIntyre has carried that ball for months. Just his whole character is he's a hater, right?
100%.
And he's doing great work with it on Twitter and like on TV. The man just embodies hate. And, and
Well, he went from being the Scottish psychopath to the Scottish hater. Like that was it. Like,
yeah,
like,
and then this whole beef between Kendrick and Drake happened, and Kendrick has literally on the tracks been like, I'm the biggest hater. I hate this and
I
that
hate the
about
way
you.
that you walk. I hate the way that you talk. I hate the way that you dress. Like,
I
damn.
even hate the way you say the word nigga.
Like, bro. Like, like,
um,
like in one song, even if we didn't hate Drake at the time, we was like, you know what? I hate you too. Like that's what that's the
You
power
know,
he
he got a
has.
point.
Yeah,
I
I
never
hate the
thought
way he
about it
walked,
like
bro.
that.
Like you after that, you probably saw like I don't know Drake on a commercial or some shit online, and you just sat there and he was walking. You like, ugh. Like, nah.
but so if we talk in 2024, was it Future put out a song
Mm-hmm.
called Like That, and Kendrick had this verse on
Oh,
it.
it was
Drake,
Metro. It was Metro.
oh Metro.
Metro
Oh,
Boomin
so
made the.
actually, first of all, if we're just talking the core beef here, like without all the subbing from the past decade, it technically started with the song with, I think it's Drake featuring Cole. Is it called First Person Shooter?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's where Cole first put out the line where he's like, we're the big three,
Yeah.
and so then people, I guess, just thought that was a cool line. They just ran with it, like, yeah, y'all the big three, we like y'all and we agree, but
But
we
mind
fans of
you,
all three of y'all.
Kendrick sitting back like that meme with Jordan from the documentary, like, so I took that personally.
Yeah.
Like, all right.
so I think that was last year, and so this year Kendrick, on Like That, in his verse, he says, fuck the big three, it's just big me.
Yep.
And like, I ain't think nothing of it. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, I thought the same thing, and I felt the same way as I did as the Control verse. I'm like, I didn't think it was a diss to anybody. I just thought, it's just rap. You just hype yourself up, and sometimes you just talk shit, but it ain't nothing personal.
Mm-hmm.
It
It's a
like,
friendly fade.
yeah, I think Kendrick at one point said, like, this was just friendly competition, like
Mm-hmm.
that's just what rap be. You just be battling, right? That's the core heart of it. And like, that's how I felt about that Control verse. I thought people gassed that up so much back in the day, but I think Drake took that personally because he said some other lines, I guess. I don't remember. So I have a timeline here. That was in March. Then
Mm-hmm.
Cole responded first with 7 Minute Drill.
Mm-hmm.
And Cole said shit like, talking about his albums, like, your first shit was whack, your second shit put niggas to sleep. And like I said earlier, I think, I'm like, I felt like that was a response, but not so much of a diss. Like, he wasn't trying to
Mm-hmm.
hit him back, like, because deep down he feels like that's his boy.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
and when Cole then apologized, like, mid concert, and when I first saw on Twitter, like, Cole apologized for that diss track and he deleted it, I was like, damn, Cole, you really a bitch? Like, what's up with that?
First response,
But
no.
yeah, but did you see the clip actually?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so then when I
Yeah.
actually got around to looking at the clip of the apology, he was like, I think he's one of the greatest artists, and To Pimp a Butterfly is like the greatest work of art. So like, I can't in my heart say you whack. Like, and I'm like, oh, I see where he's coming from. Like, I feel him on that.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, this ain't a guy I want to beef with. Like, not because like I'm such a goody two shoes, but it's just like, I really like his work. Like, I can't honestly say fuck that.
Well,
um
it's kind of like when you said how Cole technically kind of started the whole thing with the whole big three line and everything because I feel like in Cole's mind too, like it's not just the fact that I can't call you whack and what he said about the Pimp a Butterfly. Like I think he also views it in the sense of especially him and Drake, him and not Drake, him and Kendrick have also just been progressing the game the way they have. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? So it's like within his right mind, like he was like, look, like I can't sit here and honestly be like, try to tear like a brother of mine down like that, you know what I'm saying, to continue
mm,
this when like, we've come this far and we've progressed the game the way that we have, you know what I'm saying, whether it is just us two or us three, you know what I'm saying. So I think that's what partially Cole's mind was when he said what he said during his concert. So
mm. And I feel like them two, as at least as far as mainstream rappers go, they're the guys carrying that real hip hop, as people say,
yeah.
in the mainstream. So March 22nd, Kendrick Lamar drops that like verse. April 5th, 7 Minute Drill. April 7th, literally 2 days later, he apologizes. And then a couple of days later, he deletes the shit. It's funny because the album, or I guess people refer to it as an EP. Like, he probably just dropped this just to drop some shit before the actual album that he's working on.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it's titled Might Delete Later, and it's just funny that he deleted that one track later.
I know.
So then, April 19th, almost a month later, Drake responds to Like That with Push Ups.
Push-ups. Yep.
And you know me, I ain't a Drake fan, never really have been. So I didn't listen to it when it first came out. I was just like, whatever. So like for the longest, I really wasn't following the beef. Like I would just see discussion on Twitter, and I just kept scrolling. I'm like, okay, like I don't care what's going on between Kendrick and Drake because I don't really care about Drake.
Drake.
So he puts out Push Ups, and I guess same day he put out the Tailor Made freestyle. So he like doubled down on responding. So did you listen to these tracks right away, or how did you feel about them when you heard them?
So push-ups, Tailor Made, I didn't hear right away. Push-ups was, I think I heard it a day after, I want to say, because my one boy, who every so often keeps up with the beefs, depending on like he's more the like I don't keep up with the beef unless one of the people who's beefing is somebody I can't fucking stand. So then like he can't stand Drake like that. So he messaged me while I was at work, and he was like, "Bro, did you hear Push-ups?" And I was like, "Nah." I was like, "Is that the Drake response?" You know what I'm saying? Because again, I had in my head like Drake's not gonna respond. You know, it is what it is. And he's like, "Bro, you got to listen to it." He goes, "Trust me." Now, mind you, he's not a Drake fan. So he told me, he was like, "Bro, listen to that." So I literally was on my way home and I found it on Spotify, and I was like, "All right." I played it, and I'm not even gonna lie. Like again, we talked about it. I'm not a Drake fan, but it lasted the amount of time through my midway drive from home from work. I like work 15 minutes away, and to like the moment I parked is when like the track finished, and I was like, "Hold on, I gotta play that back." I was just like, "Hold on," and I must have listened to it 2 to 3 more times while I was parked before I came in like my apartment. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I didn't know, like we said before, I didn't know Drake had it in him. I was like, this is gritty. This sounds like, sounds like dude just was about to put out a mixtape. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what it sounded like. It sounded like mixtape Drake. You know what I'm saying? Like he didn't exist for very long, but like we got him back again, and I was like, okay. I actually sat there and I was like, look, like I think Drake has like a chance in this beef. Like I was just like, this actually might be a very entertaining beef. Like again, we've both talked before why we like beef in hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't necessarily like beef in hip hop for the sake of like tearing another person down. That's not why I enjoy it. I enjoy beef in hip hop, like we talked about before, because I feel like it brings out the creativity in a lot of artists. You know what I'm saying? Like, because dudes attacking you. Whether you think it's a friendly fade or you think it's just they like attacking your career. You know what I'm saying? You gotta now sit here and be like, all right, what clever lines can I like put together to like send my shots back or like to like build
You
my
can't
best
phone it in.
offense. You can't phone it in, you know what I'm saying? Or you'll get called a bitch. Or you'll just be like, oh well, he fucked you up that quickly, you know what I'm saying? And when Drake released Push Ups, and Taylor Made was alright, but when he released Push Ups, like I was like, okay. I was waiting for the Kendrick response. Like I was just like, this might go tit for tat and might be something to where I gotta look at every track and be like, yo, who's winning this? You know what I'm saying? Like, because before that, I couldn't remember a good enough rap beef where I was like, oh, this guy and then this guy, and I don't know, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I can't really count a lot of Drake's beefs because he beefed with Pusha T, which I thought was entertaining, but it didn't get the attention it should have gotten. And then he beefed with Joe Budden. That was just a whole nother mess. You know what I'm saying? But Push Ups was hot. I'm not gonna lie, it was hot. You know what I'm saying? Outside of some of the short lines, it's like, all right, well, we get it. Do like 5'3", like leave him be. But it was hot.
People clown on that shit, but I actually thought they were like amusing.
Oh yeah, they were funny as fuck. What was it? The cover of the fucking track was like his shoe size or some shit. I'm like, all right, that's funny. That's some Eminem shit right there. That's
a lot of people are like, that shit was corny, but I'm like, I thought that was funny. But like, I can see if you feel that way.
Yeah, it could be attacking him. I don't know. Kendrick could be insecure about his shoe size. I don't know. You know what I mean? But no, Push Ups was hot. It was. I'm not gonna sit here and lie. Like it was hot. It hooked me back. It hooked me into the beef. It did.
My thing is, I didn't listen to either of those Drake tracks until Euphoria came out. And because I'm a big Kendrick fan, I heard Euphoria right away. And I'm like, why is this nigga going so hard and like being so mad? I'm like, what did Drake say? Like, I got to go back. And so I listened to Euphoria first. And then I went back and listened to Push Ups and Tailor Made Freestyle. And like I also, I like I said, I try to be unbiased and open minded, but
Mm-hmm.
like when Taylor Made Freestyle first dropped, and I saw people on my Twitter timeline talking about he was using AI like with the fucking rapping as Tupac and Snoop Dogg, and I'm like,
Oh
yeah, that
yeah.
sounds corny. I'm not even gonna listen. But like when I actually went back and listened, I'm like, okay, so he's rapping from their perspectives. These are guys Kendrick looks up to. They're like his heroes. And he
Mm-hmm.
was saying some shit from their perspectives, like talking down on him, like figuratively. um, and I'm like, okay, I see the idea here. I'm like, I rock with this. I'm like, this is high level trolling, right? Is
Mm-hmm.
not really supposed to be the most artistic ass shit like using AI, but like I see what he's doing here and it's different, right?
Yeah.
This is like as far as rap beefs go, like nobody ever rapped from somebody else's perspective with their voice digitally presented there. Like I thought it was cool after I like went back and actually heard the shit. And I
Mm-hmm.
was impressed with push-ups. Like my favorite lines are actually I think the hottest line, one of the hottest lines Drake put out. Kendrick at first said something like about Michael Jackson and Prince, and like this whole comparison has been a thread throughout all these
Yeah.
tracks. I think he said Prince outlived Mike Jack, and then so Drake responded on push-ups and said, "Fuck, what was it?" Oh, he said, "What's a prince to a king, nigga?" And I was like, "Ooh, yeah, damn, that's a good one." um, and then he was like, "Metro, shut your whole ass up and make some drums, nigga." I'm like, okay, he got some attitude here. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe it, but I'm rocking with this. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but then Kendrick put out Euphoria, and it
And
was
then
like,
those
God
and then and
damn,
then those superpowers get neutralized.
yeah. And the thing, like I said with Kendrick, is he switches it up
Mm-hmm.
in one verse so often it just sounds catchy the way he says things because he keeps it interesting just the way he says things. Like these particular lines don't even have to have a double meaning or be that deep,
Mm-mm.
but he just delivers things in various ways that it keeps you engaged as a listener.
Well, remember because okay, so I'll use a great example that we talk about all the time when M be releasing some shit, right? Or times when M was beefing and all this kind of stuff. Like, how many times have we seen like a response track from M or just something he puts out, like Houdini, for example, and we look back and go, "Oh shit!" Like there was more than just a title or like a line behind this song. Like, remember we was looking up the
uh
whole like dates of when Houdini did this and that, and it was like, "Oh shit!" And then
hmm,
I remember Euphoria was the first track where, like, first of all, he begins the song trying to sound soft and sound kind of like Drake ish in the beginning. He did it on
uh
purpose. Then name the fucking song Euphoria, and Drake is literally one of the producers or whatever it was on Euphoria. You know what I'm
hmm,
saying? And there was like so much shit behind it. Like, Kendrick was like, the man wasn't just releasing songs. Like, I remember seeing memes of him just being in a basement, like with a hood on in front of the computer, like for all these tracks. And it's just like, I believe this man was just being tactical the whole goddamn time. You know what I'm saying? Like, he wasn't just, how we said about Cole, he wasn't just releasing a response. You know what I'm saying?
hmm,
Dude was just he made sure every thing behind the song, whether it be the title, the verses, the words, everything kind of just came together in one theme. You know what I'm
hmm,
saying? Like, and Euphoria was I believe, the best example of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll talk more about this when we talk about the rest of the tracks, but like Euphoria to me was like, my favorite track from the beef. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody bumping, not
hmm.
like us, obviously, but we'll talk about that more later. But there was just so much behind Euphoria and the way he just switched up from the beginning of like, all right, I'm gonna sound like him and then switch it up and be mad as fuck, and like, kind of jump from that to that. And like, even the beginning to me, he was like, them, when he just says softly as hell, and he's like, them superpowers get neutralized. I can only watch in silence. Like, it was just like Kendrick to me is like a great example of somebody like he can tell a story in like his verses and everything and not have to be Common or Talib Kweli or you know what I'm saying or
uh-huh.
Most Def. You know what I'm saying? He's such a good mix between the two. Like he can hit you with some Compton shit, but at the same time, somehow in that track in the Compton hard ass shit, you learned about a whole family flourishing. You're like, wait a minute. You're like, what? But like you understood the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? And like Euphoria to me was just I think a great example of Kendrick's creativity in music. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But to go on, I won't take up the whole time.
The thing with Euphoria, like you said, there was thought not just in the bars and such, but behind the title, and like you said, Drake being a producer on the show Euphoria, and
Hmm.
and I mentioned that there was a thread like the Michael Jackson Prince comparisons. There's been so many different threads throughout all the tracks throughout this beef. Like
Hmm.
there's the Taylor Swift thread. Like Drake said something about, you scared to put out your album because, Taylor Swift is at the top of the charts right now. And,
Shit, I
you
would
don't
be
want your,
too.
like, you can't compete. So you wait until she dies down to put your shit out. And then there was the freestyle called Tailor Made. And eventually, when Kendrick puts out 616, I don't know if you were aware, it's produced by producers that worked with Taylor Swift.
Yep. Hmm.
Like it was literally tailor made. We'll get to 616 in a second.
We can
But
make a
like
2 hour pod on this.
there, there's that thread. There's the thread of three switches. I forget who first mentioned it. I don't know if it was Drake or Cole on first person shooter. But a switch, I don't know shit about guns, but to be honest, but I think it's something that makes a gun automatic, right?
Yes.
And I think, to my knowledge, it's illegal. I don't know if that varies state to state, but there was this theme of switches in Euphoria, in Family Matters. Like the beat switches three times,
Mm.
and Kendrick, I think on Euphoria, he mentions having three switches, and the three switches being for Cole, Drake, and perhaps himself. There's that thread. Like, there's so many threads, and I mean, I'm too young to say this is the greatest rap beef in history, but because of like so many details, like those threads, and the fact that it got so personal, and there was some tea being spilled, and like people having dirt on each other, and I guess social media really, it's unfair to say like this beef from the 90s isn't as good because of social media, but because things were so in real time, with social media, like fucking the second Kendrick tweeted out this track, like people are on that shit at midnight discussing, right? Like you
Yeah.
didn't have that back in the day, to be fair, but there was just all these layers to everything. And Euphoria, it was mean. And like the bars were hard hitting, but like I said, he be saying things that are unnecessarily catchy. Like my favorite shit that I be repeating is the one part where he's talking about raising his son, and he's like, "You don't know nothing
I know
about
about
that.
that.
You don't know nothing about that." I love repeating that part. um, and it's
Well,
crazy because Drake is the more melodic artist.
hmm well, like I actually found myself repeating from Euphoria when he talks about I think Drake trying to like oh he putting a cease and desist on the like that record, but you ain't like that
Uh-huh.
record, and he goes back to back. I like that record.
Uh-huh.
Let's get back to that for the record. Like just that like that right there too. It's just like oh my god, like I'll be cleaning the house, bro. And I'm just sweeping, and I'm just like, I'll be stopping like this, and I'm like, I like that record. You know what I mean? Like, this shit should not be allowed to be that catchy, bro. Especially in a beef. Like,
uh, Eminem put out Houdini recently, and as soon as that shit ended, I'm like, I like that record.
but like, cause if you go back to like Nas and Jay beef, you know what I'm saying? Like, you wasn't walking your dog and then repeating what Jay said, or like you wasn't taking a shit and repeating what Nas said. You know what I'm saying?
uh-huh.
Like, it wasn't. Not that I'm saying beefs can't be catchy. You know what I'm saying? Nas and
Uh-huh.
Jay are two of the most catchiest, especially Jay. I mean, Jay is Mr. Catchy. You know what I'm saying? But like, you didn't go back on those beefs. Like, you didn't go. You didn't hear the beef between M and Cannabis. Well, okay, I take that back because remember fucking M had released Square Dance. So
Uh-huh.
I take that back. Like, I was walking around the house being like Square Dance with me. You know what I mean? But like not like this though.
No,
Not like
nobody was in the club talking about Eminem murdered you on your own shit.
yeah.
Which, ironically, doesn't the story go that Jay-Z was in the club and the DJ put on Ether when it first released?
Yep.
And like there's
Yep.
that meme where like the background just gets blurry and Jay-Z's like like
I
you
be look. All this shit aside, I'd be mad too, bro. Like I'm beefing with this dude, no matter how real it can be, and I'm just trying to be out enjoying my damn self.
uh,
And the motherfucker cuts on ether. Like I would have been like,
and the fact that yo, he was probably out with his shorty, just having a good old time, and then all of a sudden you hear gunshots, and it's just like fuck Jay-Z. Like that's literally how it starts. Like that had to be the worst night.
well, because okay, let's go a little further back in beef, right? You know, you remember Pac and Biggie, obviously.
Uh,
You know what I'm saying? And I know recently people ranked like the top diss tracks of all time, right? And not like
mm.
us was up there. You know, some of these tracks were in that list. You know what I'm saying? But like, okay, we know "Shoot 'Em Up." We know the song. You know what I'm saying? You want to talk about beginning? Like, I can only imagine if Biggie was out at times, and then that shit comes on, and you just hear fucking Pac be like, "Fuck your bitch," and the click you claim. It's just, damn, bro. Come on, I
You
came
gotta
out to
stop the
get it.
car.
Yeah. It's just, dude. It's like, oh my god, dude. I can't really imagine being there and just being like, goddamn. But like, but you know, this beef to me was just like, I mean, because especially in the middle of it, you know, Kendrick was being like attacked by people being like, oh, you know, but Drake is catchy, Drake is this, Drake is that, and then he said, all right,
Mm.
bet. You know what I'm saying? But you know,
And the thing is, Drake was, I don't know why, he was instigating and like, he kept saying like, drop. Like there's the punchline where he's like, drop and give me
said it just
50.
like
Like
that.
he's really talking down on him, but he was
Mm-hmm.
like daring him to respond. And he got what he asked for. You know, he made a mistake there, but
Motherfucker was tapping on the glass of the tiger fucking
but so Kendrick puts out Euphoria. Kendrick then doubles down and he responds, or not responds, but he then puts out 616 in LA. And
mm-hmm.
you know, by this point I'm fully tapped in. I'm like, I'm keeping up with shit as they drop, right? And the thing with 616, it had a lot of those details around it. Like, what the fuck kind of title is 616? What does this mean? And Kendrick clearly is a fan of shows like Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. And for the longest, I've been wanting you to get on those damn shows. And this is a whole nother conversation. I think Better Call Saul is even better than Breaking Bad. But like, what I love about it so much is not just the narrative of it and the characters, but like things are so layered and so deep and everything is thought about. Like
Mm-hmm.
literally when you watch Better Call Saul, everything on screen, every single frame, every object in the background has a meaning or even a double meaning. Like it is so artistic in that sense. And I loved following this show week to week instead of just binging shit like when they put out a show on Netflix. Because I loved following week to week because I loved going on Reddit and seeing other people break shit down and
Mm-hmm.
just discuss this regular ass scene in detail and being like, oh shit, I didn't know it was that fucking deep. And this relates to this and goes back to this. This is a callback. I didn't even know. Like, I love that shit. And
Mm-hmm.
the thing with Kendrick is like some people on Twitter are like, he ain't mean to have this reference or double meaning, but it's like, you know, as they say, twice is a coincidence, three times is on purpose. Is that the saying?
Something like that.
Yeah. But so I have here some bullet points. 616 apparently is Tupac's birthday.
Yep.
It was the start of the OJ trial.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess for the cover art, it was like OJ's glove. Like there's so many references there for whatever
Oh
reason.
yeah.
It was Nicole Simpson's funeral, ironically.
I know about
On
that.
so I guess what that alone is saying, like, you know, Drake's Drake is a sissy. He's a girl, and I'm killing him. I guess. It's Father's Day on 616. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
that was just this year that it fell on,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, there's,
You
you
know
know,
nothing about that.
since Pusha T, you know, it's been a thing that Drake is a terrible father. Like, you know,
Yeah.
it was the release date of the show Euphoria on 616. It was the date of a 2011 Kendrick show in Toronto, which that's probably reaching because it's so far back, but whatever. There's multiple Bible references of 616.
Mm-hmm.
And so clearly, there's a lot of calculated shit from Kendrick. And I already mentioned, it's produced by people that work with Taylor Swift. And the thing with 616, like it wasn't it wasn't hard like Euphoria, but it's weird. Like it starts off just groovy, and that's really the beat. Like it's just
Mm-hmm.
cool, but
True.
it's I guess the idea behind this one is just like he got word of what Drake was working on next, and he's like, "Yo, slow down, don't put that shit out, because I will be worse." um,
Right.
Drake eventually puts out Family Matters, and like, this whole thing, Kendrick said, even as I've said with the Control verse a decade ago, like this was just supposed to be friendly competition, but Drake was taking it the personal route
Yep.
and instigating. He mentioned allegedly Kendrick beating his wife, and so he's saying this, and Kendrick is like, "Yo, slow down, don't be mentioning that, or don't be fueling these allegations, this and that." And I guess, Kendrick got word, people in Drake's camp was like, "Yo, he's working on this track, Family Matters. He's gonna be saying all this type of shit." And well, first of all, what did you think of 616?
I think it was. I mean, was definitely wasn't his strongest track on that.
Mm-hmm.
And like I think the release placement of it is why I like overlooked it at first.
Mm-hmm.
Because Euphoria dropped, and I think it was like a day or so later that what was it 616 dropped in LA,
Mm-hmm.
and I still liked it. I thought it was quicker than the other tracks too. I think it was like 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was. Um, but I liked it. But then like it just all it did was just set me up more as to like, all right, what's next? You know what I'm saying? Like what's Drake releasing next? What's he got? You know what I'm saying? And like I ain't got much to say about this one. I mean, you kind of went over most of it, but I feel like this was like that small stepping stone as to like that last portion that was like we went from going from push-ups to tailor made to like a couple days later Euphoria, and then 616, and then I think this is the region in which we got like the release. You know what I'm saying? This is where like I think Kendrick was like locked in, and Drake didn't seem to understand how much Kendrick was locked in at this point. And like this next part we get to, will really flesh out like how this beef was really going.
All right, so there was some technical difficulties, but where were we? Talking about the thing with that is like, I guess it was just released on Instagram. Like you got to go on like YouTube and like find a page that really posted good quality for it. So it's like
True.
it was replayed the least because of that.
Mm-hmm.
So something I did not realize until going back was the next couple tracks all released on the same fucking day,
Yep.
within 24 hours, which is nuts. And I think that's also another thing that puts this beef way at the top of rap beefs,
Mm-hmm.
because just the frequency and how fast they were putting shit out against each other, and the quality of it,
Yeah.
it's nuts. So this was all on May 3rd, which we should dub a holiday. Like this is Rap Beef Day or fucking National Haters Day or some shit.
Fair enough.
So 616 literally was posted at 6:16 a.m. And just coincidentally, I guess Drake, he had just completed Family Matters, so he puts that shit out on this day. And I guess what took this so long to put out, and when I say long, not fucking long at all, maybe
Mm-hmm.
a week, was he actually put a video out to it. And so, again, talking about calculated moves, the video, did you see the actual video or did you just hear the track?
I just heard the track.
The video, there's not much to it, but I heard the track first and I was like, there's a video to this? I don't know if I care for it, but but I went on YouTube. It's not much, but it shows the Good Kid Mad City van, the van that's on the cover
Yeah.
of Kendrick's first album, just riding around, and then it ends up at a junkyard and it gets crushed, which is a cool metaphoric thing there. But the track in particular, I thought was some of the hardest shit I ever heard from Drake. Like I was honestly impressed. The
Okay.
first verse, it was like, whatever to me. I was kind of waiting for the shit to get going. I'm like, the shit is like 6 minutes. I'm like, where's the bars I've been hearing throughout this thing? But again, this track follows the theme of the three switches, like the beat switches 3 times. And that first verse, in my opinion, was. But then the second and third verse, I thought like I was so impressed. I'm like, I ain't know Drake had it in him like this. Like,
Mhm.
and it wasn't just a response to Kendrick. Like, for whatever reason, other parties were getting involved. And so Drake dissed The Weeknd, Future, Metro, ASAP Rocky. Like, he said Rakim, and I was I was like, Rakim? Oh fuck! Like, what? Like, why you dissing him? But turns out that's ASAP Rocky's real name. Rick Ross, and like, he was saying a lot of shit, and I was like, okay, like I'm rocking with this more than I thought I would. And there was some hard ass lines, and even in the third verse when he starts, like this was some of the most catchy shit from Drake. And I hate it being such a Kendrick fan. I hate that I find this catchy, but it's the lines where he's like, Kendrick just opened his mouth. Someone go hand him a Grammy right now. And
Yeah,
he's like,
that shit
where?
was.
And referencing Kendrick's aunt who was trans and transitioned, I believe. He
Mhm.
says, where is your uncle at? Because I want to talk to the man at the house. I was like, oh, that's kind of a low blow. Like, but
Right, right, right.
like those lines I felt catchy. So I was like, I was mad that I was so impressed with this track. Like I actually be replaying this one a lot. What you think?
Okay. And Family Matter was definitely better than I anticipated. Like especially what the topics in which he was talking about on the track. See, I do agree with you. Like that first verse, I was like, okay, I think we have a winner. And then like two and then three hit, and I was like, okay. So again, it flipped around to where I was like, all right, what is Kendrick gonna respond with? Not that I was obviously writing off Drake, because at this point I was like, all right, Drake's more worthy of a contender than I thought with this. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like coming into the beef, even like Drake fans said the same thing. It was like, Drake from the beginning was not supposed to win this beef. You know what I'm saying? Because of like lyrically, who Kendrick is. You know what I'm saying? It's like how people would say the same thing about M, and like, or even like, sometimes I believe the game. You know what I'm saying? People beef with them, and it's like no matter what your name is, you're not supposed to be winning that. You know what I'm saying? So you got to come with some shit, which Drake did. You know what I'm saying? We had push-ups, we had Taylor Made Freestyle, and we had Family Matters, and it was like, okay, like, whether whoever you believe was winning this, like this is a lot closer than we anticipated. And Family Matters I was like, okay, like this is more fire I was not anticipating. And to an extent, I was like, like, not that I'm like the biggest Kendrick fan, but I was like, I'm mad as hell that this shit is catchy. Like that Grammy line you said, like I literally was repeating that. I was repeating that shit. But like that line to me was funny because not only because of how catchy it was and Drake's meaning behind it, but then at the same time it was just like, okay, but that's one of those lines to me, like you think you're being clever, but then you also just admitted your opponent's greatness at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Like, which we'll get a little bit more into now, once like the next couple tracks come up too. Cause like, I mean, not to foreshadow anything, but Drake's final track was bad, but that's besides the point. You know what I'm saying? But not Tailor Made. Family Matters was dope. It was dope. I mean, like again, we talk about putting this at the top. Like, besides the span of time in which these were released, like to have these released in the time in which they were, and then be in the quality that they were, was just unfathomable. I think at this point, you know what I'm saying? Like you look at beef back in the day, like it took days, a week, a month sometimes to respond, and it was just like because dudes were just cooking. You know what I'm saying? They were writing down. Whether they was writing down in a notebook or a napkin at the restaurant, like, yo, what am I going to respond to? I got to cover everything I got to cover. And then you had these two, like, not even taking nothing away from either of them. Like, we knew how Kendrick was. This was more, I think, a lot of people were believing, like, okay, could Drake keep up? And he was. To this point, he was keeping up. You know what I'm saying? Whether you thought he was just trailing behind or he was neck and neck, like, he was keeping up. And this is not what we were expecting from the, doing that dance, waving my hand. Like, we were not expecting that. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what even added more to like tracks like Push Ups and Family Matters, was like we didn't expect dude over here to get like that, to get that gritty, to get that clever about some things. And he not only did that, he went beyond that. You know what I'm saying? And this is again coming from us. We're not Drake fans like that. So for us to be hooked to these tracks the way we were really showed that like Drake was, got to his zone and got to his studio and said, yo, like I'm not gonna let K Dot do me like that. You know what I'm saying? And it was fire. It was another fire track, and I didn't expect it. I didn't want to expect it. I didn't want to like it. You know what I'm saying? So it's just that seemed to be the theme with this like, this beef was like, I felt like on both sides that you had fans, because we all know how some of the Drake fans can be, and I know some of them can't sit here and lie and be like, oh, everything Kendrick put out was whack. No, it wasn't. And it wasn't. You at one point was singing Not Like Us. You know what I'm saying? So it was just Family Matters was a piece of work that he put out that I was like, okay, what's the next track? Like,
Yeah.
I just had to know.
And the thing with me is, like, like I said, I like Drake with the melodies, even though I don't be tuning in that much. But like, if he was putting shit out like this more regularly and I was aware, like, I would have been up with his catalog, keeping up. Like, like, I don't know if the first I ever heard of Drake was with that what was his earliest like mixtape? The one that has like Best I Ever Had, and all those types of songs, like, was when I guess when he first came on the scene. But the song Forever, I think he had the second best verse. We all know who had the best one, but
it wasn't the first, John.
I think he had the second best verse on that. And if I got more out of that from him, I would have continued being a Drake fan. But I guess I just didn't, or I wasn't aware, I wasn't tapped in. But like the type of shit he was doing on Family Matters, I'm like, I could rock with this though. But so so on May 3rd, bright and early in the fucking morning, 6:16 drops. Family Matters happens to drop later that night.
And then 45 minutes later,
fucking Meet the Grams came out, and I forget who, I don't know if he was the producer or somebody was in the studio with Kendrick recently. They were on Twitter, or I guess they were interviewed, and they were talking about like, yeah, I was chilling with him, and when we saw that Family Matters dropped, I went to the bathroom and I came back and I saw Kendrick was uploading Meet the Grams on YouTube, and it was like, oh, that nigga was just waiting. like he already had that shit made, and he was just waiting to press upload just to be a fucking troll and a dickhead. The thing that's crazy is that Family Matters really, honestly, was so good, but Meet the Grams coming out fucking 45 minutes later just took all the air out of his sails. And like, I remember being on Twitter, I was seeing like most of the conversation was of Kendrick putting shit out so fast after Drake, and I'm like, wait, but when did Drake drop? Like, did I miss this last week? Or,
yeah, I remember you even talking to me about that.
I was like, what are people talking about? Like, they did not drop at the same time. Like, I'm trying to use context clues, and I'm like, oh shit, like Drake really just dropped, and Kendrick just dropped right fucking after. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, that was just so mind blowing. And Meet the Grams, it's like, it's so weird that it's not another hard hitting fuck you, I got better bars and I can be meaner about my punchlines. Like, it was just this psychological narrative. And like, the thing is, like, with Euphoria, like we said, some of the lines on Family Matters, like, stuff has, I don't think the intention was to be catchy with any of this shit, but there are lines that have been catchy and have been fun to repeat when you bump into shit in the whip. But Meet the Grams did not intend for any of that. This was just, he
that
raps from the perspective. As soon as you hear, I forget how the verses start. I honestly have not listened to it that much, because it's like, this is not something you want to, like, why would you just be bumping this shit?
It made you, no, like, I remember, okay, so I was literally like, just to show you how involved I was in this beef, and I've talked to you about this too. Like, I had my fiance, like, word for word, word of mouth on this beef the whole time, and like,
babe, come here, listen.
Dead ass. Like, it wasn't even just like, oh, babe, like, this is some hip hop that I'm listening to, and if you just give me the time of day, like, I'm gonna tell you about this. Like, no, she was locked in to the point. I remember at one point, I forget which track dropped. I was on Fortnite. and I'm playing with the boys, and like literally I get a message or some kind of update that somebody told me about Kendrick dropping, right? And it may have been not like us. And I remember just taking one like earphone off like this and just being like, babe, Kendrick dropped another one. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how locked in we both were. You know what I'm saying? To even she's walking around the house, whatever she's doing, she's cooking, she's feeding the cat, whatever she's doing. And even she's just like she's walking around just like they not like us. Like she's dropping verses, you know. We as a duo were locked into this whole beef. Like, and I'm not saying we were just like listening to each track on Spotify, whatever. We would have that ass every time one of them dropped, bro. We would have the lyric video up on the TV in the living room and literally replaying shit, making sure we got every word, every verse. Like, oh my God. Like, there was shit she caught before I did. You know what I'm saying? Where she's just like, we'll listen to one line and she's like, ooh. And I'm like, wait, what was it? I went back like 5 seconds and I'm like, ooh, you know what I mean? Like, that's how locked in even I had her on this whole thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh my God, the play-by-play. Like, but like I remember with Meet the Grant, I remember it being like 45 minutes, bro. Like it wasn't even a full hour, and the dude dropped. Like I was just like, and I remember I'm texting two of my other boys, the one boy I mentioned before, and he was the one that first informed me. I had just got home from work, and he was like, bro, Kendrick dropped. I'm like, wait, what? Did you just tell me Drake dropped? He was like, no,
I just heard Drake when I was on break. Like,
yeah,
now I'm home. You telling me Kendrick dropped?
Yeah, I heard Family Matters, and then I get home like literally within the time span, and it's just like, oh yeah, and Kendrick dropped, by the way. Like he just dropped something just now. I'm like, how the fuck did he do that? I was like, wait a minute, and I'm on Twitter X, whatever the hell you want to call it, and I'm on there just reading up on these shit, some of the shit you even retweeted, and I'm just like, what? No, if I remember correctly, you didn't know yet, and I think I texted you. And I was like, bro, like, he just dropped. And you're like, wait, didn't Drake just drop? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, what is going on? You know what I mean? Like, it was to a point in our daily lives hard to keep up with. You know what I'm saying? It was like, oh my God, like, there's no way, you know, they're dropping like this. And then it's just like, bro, can I just like get up from the couch first before, you know, like something. I felt like every step I was taking at work was going to be a new track drop. You know what I mean? Like, it was crazy. It blew my fucking mind. But anyways.
And the thing with this track, Meet the Grams, is that it's so dark because of what he's saying and like the context and the subject matter of it all. Like Eminem be having some dark shit, but it's like it's because the instrumental has like the high pitched screeching and like maybe some chainsaw revving, like it's the production and he's clearly like being a character on some serial killer shit. But like with Meet the Grams, it's dark because of the psychology of it. And he's talking about from the no, not from the perspectives, right? He's talking to Drake's mother,
each family member,
and then he's talking to his son. He's like, your dad's a sick man, and I think niggas like him should die. And it's like, oh shit, you saying that to a little kid though?
But, dude, it's like Kendrick was like the ghost in the house, you know what I'm saying? And like, you know, these dudes was hearing shit. And like I remember I pictured like the way Kendrick wanted this song to come across was like Drake going to bed at night, dog. And he looking up at the ceiling and that shit's just replaying in his head. You know what I'm saying? That shit is like each family member being its own like poem to an extent. You know what I'm saying? Like I remember seeing all the memes when it was just like, you know, when Adonis later on in life gets in trouble or some shit, and then he goes into his room and he's playing either Not Like Us or Meet the Grams. And Drake's like, hey yo, you better open the damn door.
Better shut that shit off.
Yeah, like that was like the fucking Kevin Hart shit with like fucking I'm gonna get the neighbor. It's like, yo, I'm gonna get so and so. Give me the trash. Give me the trash. I'm gonna do it. Don't worry about it. Dude, it was just my God.
Like what a long ass day. 6 in the morning, 6:16, and then
I worked.
You got Kendrick Drake, all the way till we reached fucking midnight. And of course, you know, because there was 2 long ass tracks, there was so much to talk about. You just stay on Twitter till 4 a.m. breaking everything down. Like back in the day, people dropped shit on like the popular HipHop website, or like, you know, it was like HipHop Daily, fucking.com. Like you weren't on top of shit like that. And if you were refreshing that page every day to see if Jay responded to Nas, like it's like, okay, like once you got it, you had to go to work or school and you're like, yo, did you hear the latest thing? And it's like,
You
nah.
had
It's like,
time
all
to
right,
talk
well,
about it.
when we go to the library, hopefully it's not blocked. I'll play it for you.
Go to the well, I mean, the beefs back in the day were like Drake and Nas. Them shits were delivered by carrier pigeon. All right, you know what I'm saying? Like that had time, you know.
Oh man, it's like the way we as a people were so invested in this shit in real
Mm-hmm.
time
Yep.
is insane. And then this happened to be the next day, but not 24 hours later, Kendrick doubles down with Not Like Us. And this is stupid how much of the numbers this shit has made and
Oh,
how hot. I honestly was not feeling it when I first heard it. And like
mm-hmm.
I saw people online are like, this shit is a club banger. And I'm like, club banger? Nigga, what? But
Mm-hmm.
like it grew on me because of the hype around it. And
Oh
like
yeah.
and like some of the lines, are catchy. And it's the fact that this is a club banger and the song is just throwing allegations or like talking shit about a pedophile. Like it's just like, why are we bumping this like that? Like this is just
Because they said he couldn't release a banger like that, and he said, "I bet I'm not only gonna release this hit, I'm also in this hit gonna tear the rest of you down." And then that's it. Like,
yeah.
remember the cover lives rent free in my head with the fucking mansion and the fucking red
uh
fucking dots. Like, oh, dude.
Again, just detailed, calculated moves.
Mm-hmm.
You got the fucking sex offender pinpoints over Drake's mansion, and that shit would have flew right past my head. I don't know what the fuck those pins reference,
Now
until I
you
see
do.
on Twitter like, yo, that's Drake's house. First of all, I don't like people that be such fans of people they know what their house look like. Like that's
Yeah, that's weird.
ridiculous.
That's a little.
Uh,
That's Drake's front lawn. That's crazy. That's the one daffodil to the left of the tree. No.
It's like, why are y'all so tapped in like this? Y'all ain't never gonna be there. Consensually. I hope.
I was gonna say unless you're under a certain age. No.
Unless you invited because you still in high school. I don't know. But
It's not the Neverland Ranch, but
but this song, I think, like you said, it's the psychology in the making of it. Like they said, Kendrick, don't be in the clubs like that, which is bullshit. Because I remember when swimming pools came out, all the finest girls I knew was like drank. Like they was throwing that ass, like that. Like Kendrick has had catchy shit,
of course,
that has been in the club. Like, come on, but like this, it has those catchy lines, and more towards the end, it's just like freaky ass nigga, yeah, 69 got. It's like it's so weird. Like, why is it? But I think the psychology of it is that if he makes it a club banger and it's so catchy that those allegations will stay in people's mind, right? And the idea that Drake is a pedophile will stay as a thing at the forefront, that people are going to remember this of Drake, and that's really the psychology of it. Like, forget the catchiness and the punchlines, which were all cool, and some lines were hard. It's the psychology of it all, which is why Kendrick totally won this whole beef by a landslide, no matter what stands of Drake want to say.
It's Not Like Us was like the pivotal icing on the cake of like, oh, who won this? And then Kendrick kind of like released that and said, well, come on. I mean, let's not forget Drake did release another track. Okay.
The thing with this one is Drake responds to this. I don't know how much time had passed since, but niggas was in the club turning up to Not Like Us until Drake responded. And then when he finally does, he titles it The Heart Part 6, which is a play on this series of, I guess, freestyles or songs that Kendrick always puts out. I guess he usually puts it out before an album. I don't know if I'm making that up. But he had The Heart series, and Drake names this last track The Heart Part 6. And the thing with this is he just sounds defeated, like in his flow.
100%. Like he just like, not to interrupt you, but like we said about Cole before, like Cole sounded like a response, not exactly a diss. This track, and a lot of people have said this, like this track to me sounded like his final defense. Like it wasn't even like he had like a couple in there where he was trying to diss back, but literally some of the lines just sounded like he was just trying his hardest to back himself out of a corner of like,
Yeah.
I didn't do this, I didn't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the one line he says? Like, oh, which mind you, Kendrick never even said Millie's name. And
Yeah.
then like I remember seeing what was it, a forum where people titled the song "Hard Part 6" basically saying like, bro, you giving yourself up at this point. Like he had lines where he was just like, oh, I didn't do nothing with Millie Bobby Brown. I only looked once, and it was like, wait, why did you look at all? Like, dog, like, what are you doing? Like, it was just
Uh,
like, it's like when you had that you with your friend, and your friend's finally standing up for himself, and he's saying some stupid shit, and you're like, and you're trying to pull his ass back. You're like, bro, what are you doing?
uh,
What are you doing? Like, just shut
uh,
up. Like, you know what I'm saying? The Hard Part 6 sounded like it was just his last tired defense of just like you said, he sounded defeated. Like he sounded
uh.
like, well, you know, I didn't do this and I didn't do that, and it was just like, okay. I mean, we thought you was gonna say
He was dropping names that Kendrick did not. Like,
exactly.
and it was like, well, you didn't have to mention that, you know.
Like,
Um,
oh, there's names. That's crazy.
um, but like the thing is, like you said, it wasn't another clapback. It was just a
Hmm.
response. It was a
Yes.
defense, and like that's how it came across. Like it was just defensive, more
Hmm.
than like
Yeah.
we still shooting. This nigga was just taking cover now.
Uh-huh.
And so again, this is one of those where it's like I was not replaying it. Like it's just
Mm-mm.
like this is
Played
not
it
something you
once.
bump. Like you heard the response and you're like, all right, well, I got what I needed out of that. This is not bumping in the whip. And the thing is, he like tries to sound mature and like, you know, I'm done with you type shit, but it's like, nah,
It's too
you're
late for
just
that.
done.
It's too late for that.
Yeah,
Like you can't be in a boxing match and in the eighth round decide like, you know what, I'm all right here. Like, no, motherfucker, you get
like
punched in the
I've
face.
hit you hard enough. Like, no, nigga, take
Yeah.
these shots.
It sounded like he was in like a post game conference,
uh,
right? And he got fucked up, knocked out, TKO'd even, and then he was like, you know what? It is what it is. Like the camp wasn't the best camp leading up to the fight. You know what I'm saying? It's
uh,
like, oh come on, bro. It's like it sounded like you knew that Kendrick had finished him when like literally people forget the Heart Part 6 was the last track released of the beef. So
uh,
technically, by the order of things, Drake didn't get a response for Heart Part 6. But that's how you know Kendrick, in a sense, won because he didn't feel he had to respond to that.
yeah.
Because it was just like, what was it? You know what I'm saying? It was just him defending himself for 3 or 4 minutes. You know what I'm
Uh.
saying? That's really all it was. So Kendrick probably looked at that and was like ready with the clicks again and was just like, oh, nah, I think we got this, bro. Let's wrap it up. Like,
uh. And like the thing is, like there happened to be a shooting at Drake's mansion.
yeah.
I think it was vacant except for like one bodyguard who just was watching the place, and it was like, all right, now we're getting real life violent. Let's cut the nonsense. Like
Hmm.
this is 2024. We don't got to be shooting over bars anymore. Like
Everybody got
let's
shot
stop.
9 times over some shit.
But time has passed, and really, I feel like months have passed. But when you look at the calendar, it has not. It has been
Has
like
been
a
a
month
month.
since Not Like Us dropped, but it's felt like a lot. But since this time, you know, I think we can conclude that the beef is over. I don't know if
Mhm.
you're aware, Drake has actually gone and deleted all the Instagram posts of
Yep.
like Tailor Made Freestyle and the Heart Part 6. Like the fact
Yep.
that he deleted these, it's like admission to defeat.
Yep.
But Not Like Us has been like breaking records at the top of all types of charts, which is fucking nuts. And you
I heard some Drake fans trying to be like, "Oh, yeah, like the last line of defense is just like, oh, see, Kendrick never had a hit this big until he mentioned Drake's name," and it was just like,
uh
all right, yeah, because I remember seeing a post in the beginning of the beef that really, really showed me how some of these fans can be. Like, remember how you mentioned how fans be way too deep into if you know where a motherfucker lives at, like
uh
there's some, and it's not just Drake fans. So I want to make that very clear. Like, I remember seeing a post of somebody who tweeted something years ago that was like, I stopped arguing with Drake fans when when he got peed on one time, and the dude argued back with yeah, but just on his leg. Like that spoke so much to me about how some of these fans can be when they just be like dick riding a celebrity like that, you know. And again,
uh
I want to preface this: it's not just Drake. You know what I'm saying? But Drake has some of the most toxic fans out there. You know what I'm saying? But like
uh
that spoke so much to me because it was like it's so true. You can be like, yo, Drake done. shot the dude in the head, and they'd be like, well, he aimed for his ear though. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, okay, you know what I mean? Like it cracks me up to this day. It's just I still see posts about it, and I'm like, bro, this beef been over. Like, why are we still arguing? And then Kendrick came out with the pop out, and it was just like that solidified it even more. Of like, dude made a whole show out of it where fucking the crowd was singing his lyrics. They were singing the song, and like motherfuckers was on stage. Even LeBron was in the crowd, like who's been a known like friend of Drake. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna say this: you want to know how I know Drake lost the beef? This is the most I've ever seen Drake pictured with his son, with his dad. I'm like,
like,
bro,
look, I'll be at baseball games. It's like, oh yeah, now you are. Now
like,
we see you.
Dude got beat so bad to the point where he's just like, oh, I gotta show I'm a good father now. Like, it's just like how you get beat so bad that you have literally admitted to his lyrics at this point. Like, I remember seeing a post today where dude literally showed up at this one restaurant with eating fried rice, just like it was in the Euphoria song, and I'm like, dude is just literally like backtracking at this point. It's just like that's how you know. Like, this is the most I've seen Adonis in a month than I have in years that he's had the kid. Like, it's just crazy. It's crazy. And I remember when he had that post, the whole samurai picture of like the samurai verse, like millions of people, and he like labeled himself the samurai and was like, oh, it's been fun, now on to the summer. It was like,
he acted like the shit don't affect him.
It's like,
I don't know if you saw literally just earlier today, like he went out bowling and on like his name on like the scoreboard, it says 69 God. Like he's acting like the shit don't affect him, but it's like,
his publicists need to talk to him, dog. Like, like you making yourself look like more of a fool. Like you're trying to act so hard in a sense of like, oh, none of this phases me, I'm Drake, and it's just like, all right, bro, yeah, get some help. Like, I don't like, come on, man.
But to go back to the Heart Part 6, I remember people on Twitter and online, they were making such theories about like, yo, because Kendrick had said in Meet the Grams, saying essentially Drake had a daughter that he's also been hiding. And it's like, whoa, nigga got a daughter too? Like, what? But, and so then in the Heart Part 6, Drake is like, yeah, we fed you all this false information. And like, that's what people were theorizing online, is that like, yo, people from Drake's camp have been feeding Kendrick info. Like, that's not true. Like, Kendrick is just getting fake dirt and he don't know it. And it was like Drake saw the online theories and he just ran with it. Like he was so smart. He's like, yeah, we knew you'd come at us with this Epstein angle, and like we was playing chess the whole time, but like really, like, nah, like this nigga just took all the online comments and made it a verse, and just made it just like, besides the fact that like he sounds just defeated, like the lyrics and all is just like not it. Like, it's like none of that worked as a response.
Even if it was true that he fed that information, first of all, to release it that late, and then, you know, at the time, like, it was just kind of like, okay, but what did it get you? Like, even if that was true, even if you set this all up, you was mad diabolical about it, right? The fact that you still lost, you know what I'm saying? Like, it speaks volumes. It's just like, oh yeah, I set this whole thing up. Oh, that's crazy. You still lost though. I
don't. you set up the fact that he's making bangers calling you a pedophile. Like, why? What?
Did you feed that information too? Like, it's just like, like, yo, tell him I touched Millie Bobby Brown. Okay, Drake, we can do that if you want. You sure you want to do that? You know what I'm saying? And I'm sorry, I just want to, like, I want to shout out RDC World One, like, for their videos on the whole keep up with it. Like, they had, and like, you know, and they were trying their best to release this stuff, like, because of how quickly the tracks were coming out. But like, their whole coverage of it was the best, bro. Like, after each track, them releasing like how Drake felt and how like Kendrick felt with the whole thing, bro. I don't know if you've seen all the videos, bro. Oh, great, hysterical.
I might have scrolled past them, but I
you gotta watch them in order, bro. And like, now that you know how the beef played out, watch them in order, bro. Every single one is fucking hysterical.
I did happen to see like they were on a live stream when Family Matters and Meet the Grams came out. Like I saw
Uh-huh.
their reactions first listening to it, but I didn't see any skits of theirs though.
Yeah, dude, it's like I remember it was the one skit they had where like remember when Metro Boomin came out with BBL Drizzy, the beat,
Yeah,
and he was trying to
we
get
ain't
any.
even mentioned that yet.
Yeah, I know that could be a whole another pod. But like when he mentioned when he puts out BBL Drizzy and he's like any artist who wants to spit their own stuff on it or whatever. Like that video specifically watched because it's so funny because they just play the roles of Metro and I think
Mm.
it's like a Weekend and like a Future or whatever, and they go into a room and it's a bunch of artists just wanting to jump on the track, and they got Common in there, Chance the Rapper. They're like, "Yo, why are y'all here?" Like, wait,
Comment
like,
is so far from removed
yeah.
from this.
And then like apparently Common's like, "Oh, Drake dissed me here," and then like they got the Chance, and the Chance, why are you here? And he's like, "Remember, he had that one line where he was like, da 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 da, Chance the Rapper," and they were like, "Bruh, that's a reach. Get out." Like I do. If you get a second today or tomorrow, whenever, watch
Mm.
them in order. You will crack up laughing, especially the one where like, they had. Remember when he had somebody in Drake's camp telling him stuff, and I think it was
Mm.
after Family Matters or whatever. Like the one dude played the informant, and he was like, "Yo, Kenny, he drop right now," and they're like, "Who is that?" And the dude runs out the door, and he's just like, bro, who is that? And then like I think it was the other dude being like, who is anybody, bro? He goes, we don't know these motherfuckers, bro. Like they just part of the group here. We don't even know where they came from. And you trust in all these motherfuckers. Like it was Chubbs. He
Mm.
was playing Chubbs. That's who he was playing.
Uh,
But yeah, I recommend, bro. RDC World, like they always up on it, man. They always up on it. It's funny as hell.
I guess we covered it all, but I maintain that this rap beef as a whole is the most professional wrestling ass thing ever. Because it starts earlier than you thought it did. Like if you know and follow pro wrestling, they sometimes be putting the highlight videos together and they're like, this is 10 years in the making. And you're like, I know they crossed paths 10 years ago in fucking Japan, but like there be that history of it. But like, it started with Kendrick being like, just trying to make competition. Like with Controlverse, he wanted to
Exactly.
bring competition back to mainstream hip hop. But then Drake took it personal for whatever
Yeah.
reason. And like in wrestling, they're characters talking shit, but sometimes they peel back the curtain and shit be getting personal on live TV, Like
Mm-hmm.
the most iconic thing that just jumped to my mind is when John Cena called out Roman Reigns and he's like, no, go ahead, find your words, learn to cut a promo, kid. Like when Roman was forgetting his lines and shit, like, and there's the time Cena called out The Rock for having his lines written on his wrist and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yo, they be in character talking shit, but then sometimes it gets real and they talk further shit, and then it's like, oh, now we don't really fuck with each other backstage. And I feel like that's what this was. Like Drake and Kendrick made songs together,
Right.
but now it's like, now we talking about each other's kids and wives and shit.
And
Like,
yeah, cell block one. It's just like it. Wait, hold on. Hey, babe, what was your favorite line from the beef? Yeah.
That's kind of hard. Obviously the A minor.
obviously.
Obviously.
The way he says it. I like some of his lines about Tupac too because you can kind of hear like the emotion in his voice.
Uh-huh.
I think my favorite though is when he says, "You raised a horrible fucking person, the nerve of you, dumbass," because he said, "Fuck your dad too."
She over there talking about Meet the Grams. Okay, all right. All right, well, I told y'all she was locked in. See?
What she said?
She said the beef has been her life for the past couple months.
Oh. Yo, not like us. Oh, but to compare it more to wrestling, I was gonna say I mentioned threads throughout this whole beef in the lyrics and such. One of the threads was this big three. I don't know why I put three air quotes, but like, when Cole first says, we the big three, and Kendrick's like, fuck the big three, it's just big me. It made me think of the Shield in wrestling, because I'm like, Roman Reigns is Drake in the sense that he was the guy everybody, like, he had the machine behind him, I'd say, like, he's the guy everybody wanted to push to the top to succeed, right? And
Right,
guys like me are like,
Fuck him.
yeah, fuck this guy. Like, he ain't real. Like, Drake is putting on this gangster persona. I'm like, that ain't him. Fucking Roman Reigns is putting on this Cena 2.0 goody two shoes. I'm like, that ain't him. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And like Kendrick, I'd say, is the Seth Rollins in that. Like,
Yes.
Seth Rollins said, fuck the big three, and he turned on his boys, right?
Yep.
So then I'd say Cole is Dean Ambrose, because Cole's the guy who apologized and stayed out of the beef, while Dean Ambrose was like, I'm going to AEW. Like, y'all still my boys, but like, I'm out of this.
Mhm.
Seth and Roman, y'all can keep feuding till the end of time, and it's cool. But I'm gonna be over here doing my thing. I've been thinking of these parallels. I'm like, yo, this is literally pro wrestling, this whole rap beef.
Mm-hmm.
But yo, Not Like Us, it's stupid in that how popular it's gotten. Like, just when I thought the shit was slowing down, like we said, it's only been a month, which is crazy. But like, just when I thought the hype was dying down, Kendrick did the Pop Out concert.
Yep.
And he played the shit 5 fucking times in a row.
Yep.
And it feels hype again. And the stupidest shit is, like, in the past week, I went to CVS to deposit some money on my card. And when I left CVS, it's kind of a hill. And then, like, the road is right there.
Yeah.
Like, someone was driving up to the red light with their windows down, blasting Not Like Us.
Yep. That's everywhere.
I forget. It just got to the part. I yelled across the parking lot as they were pulling up to the red light. I was like, "Wop, wop, 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 stop, fuck them up!" And they were just like, I was like, "This is stupid. What just happened?" and dog, I was at work, and like we have an iPad that just be having Pandora station on, and I think Pandora fucking sucks. Like, the algorithm is garbage.
I forgot it was still a thing.
Like, I don't know why my boss can't just put Spotify on that shit. Because, like, I feel like no matter what you put on, it always just goes back to fucking early 2000s pop. Like, no matter what station you put on, it goes back to fucking Thriller. Or some Taylor Swift shit. And it's like, I put on fucking Tupac radio. How did we get to fucking NSYNC? Like, this is not the same genre, years, but yo, so I was at work, and usually whoever opens, like, they kind of call what's on the radio, like what station we putting on. So my coworker Ariana opened. She put on Kaylani radio. Fucking Kaylani radio, and Not Like Us came on. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, what station is this? I'm like, am I hearing that right? And she was like, this is Kaylani. I was like, what? Why the fuck? This isn't even clean. Like, why is this on the radio? On this station? Like, what the fuck? Like, it is absurd.
Wop, 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 wop.
But we gonna be playing this till the end of time. Or,
100%.
I mean, that's the song of the summer. But I think we've covered it all here.
I think so.
we've been talking long enough about this rap beef. The thing that's crazy is, just to mention the popularity of this shit, and because I mentioned pro wrestling, I just remembered. You saw Kendrick has that one line about Sweet Chin Music.
Yep.
And he's like, and I won't pass the ox. And, you know, Shawn Michaels actually tweeted about it. It's like, yo, who the fuck in the NXT locker room showed him that shit? It is mind-boggling that Shawn Michaels has heard this song, and we know this.
Everybody's heard it. Everybody and your mama. You know, actually, funny enough, you know, I don't know if we're entering here, but like, I literally was telling Kate before, like, I was literally walking around the house. I think I just like grabbed a snack or some shit, or got back from something, and I was just walking around. What the fuck was I saying? I was like, "Fuck them all, any mama." It's just been my anthem, man. Like, just like the whole, like, the beats in my head, everything is so catchy. Like, dude, it's just crazy what's come out of this beef, man. Like, the 69 guy.
I was just thinking, I wasn't sure how I wanted to start doing this podcast. Like, you know, we have recordings just sitting in a folder. I'm like, what should I put out first as episode 1? So I'm thinking right here, since we're talking about pro wrestling and hip hop and popularity of these things, I'm going to insert conversation of me and my boys, Meelz and Justin, because we discussed the popularity of pro wrestling. and how it's turning up these days in the mainstream. Like you saw, like fucking Lil Wayne was backstage at Raw recently, and like they were playing, I think, Roman Reigns' theme song during an NBA game, and like the celebrities and like the other sports and like hip hop, like it's all associating again, right? So I'm gonna transition this to some of that recording with them. I wanted to talk to you guys specifically because I wanted to ask you guys about wrestling's popularity these days, because you talk about not wanting a title for your show to be outright like this is a wrestling show, but it's so weird because I'll not buy wrestling shirts because for the longest time wrestling was like the cringe corny thing to be a fan of. It's like, I'm a John Cena fan, but what the fuck I look like wearing a shirt with this white shirtless muscly ass dude on my chest. Like the bitches ain't gonna rock with that, you know what I'm saying? But like nowadays, like I got the red We the Ones shirt, like that shit is hard and it doesn't look like a wrestling shirt, right? And like I've been recognized in these shirts out there more so in the past 2 years than I've ever been in the 20 plus years prior wearing some wrestling shit. Like I was going to a restaurant, I got out the car, and somebody driving by in the parking lot noticed my We the Ones shit, and he was like, "Sup, oos?" He threw up the one, and like, first it's unexpected. So for a second, I'm like, "The fuck was that? Do I know this guy?" And then I'm like, "Oh, he was commenting on that. Oh shit!" Like, yeah, you just throw the one back up. Yeah. I got recognized in that shirt that day. Another time, literally just that one shirt alone. Another time, I was at the mall. This older black lady was like, "I love the shirt." I keep walking, and like this little white boy was just like, "What's up?" And I'm like, yo, like it is like, I feel like it's low key popular. You see the numbers; they're breaking all types of records. Yeah, but I don't know if it's low key anymore. I think people were waiting, and people were waiting to be accepted or waiting to have visibility as to what wrestling was. I think a lot of it was really the pandemic. Like wrestling was in such a crappy state before the pandemic, and like me and Meelz were there from the beginning. Like we were there. Like 2018 WWE was not great. 2019 WWE was even probably worse than that. 2020 WWE was just like, where are we going to go? What are we going to do? Like me and Meelz thinking of ideas of like, okay, how are we going to talk about this? You know what I'm saying? Like we're not really feeling WWE. We're not really feeling a lot of the AEW stuff. Like what are we going to do? We were coming up with different ways. Like Meelz came up with like the Draft Diaries and all of these other shows that we did so that we didn't have to talk about the current product because it wasn't that great, but something flipped. And I think what it was is that so many people were home, and this was the first kind of league, so to speak, that came back in full force and was on TV every single day. So what do you do when when you have nothing else to do? You're watching it, you're turning back to it. And then I think another thing that happened was, and you have to really attribute it to the characters and the writing of the characters. Like this stuff ended up being really good as a story in a way that it just hadn't been since Stephanie got kidnapped and was about to get put on the Undertaker symbol. You know what I mean? Like those were compelling stories that people really wanted to see back then. And now what you have is you got the characters, you have your Roman Reigns, and you have people like John Cena and stuff coming back. He was always popular at that time, but it just became acceptable because I think a flip switched within the company where it's like we have to kind of put these people front facing. They went more diverse. Bianca Belair in the front, women in general in the front. Roman Reigns is your champion, not a white guy, a muscly white guy, not a, you know what I'm saying, not your prototypical kind of guy. And in a way, you look at it and it's like, okay, WWE is kind of ahead of the game when they said they wanted this to be the guy, but they fumbled it so many times, we just didn't know that they could do it. And then he comes back in 2020 in August. It's like, oh shit, he looks like a movie star. And it was like, yo, like this might be a bit of a switch here. And there were just so many things. And it's not just WWE, it's also AEW providing really an alternative for that as well. And having people who were kind of burnt out and jaded from WWE programming, giving them something to watch. That show debuted at 1.4 million viewers, which unprecedented for a new show. Like TNA didn't even reach those heights consistently throughout their whole tenure on TV. But again, it was the crowds were hotter. And again, they started talking to kids. You mentioned the kid noticed you. The kids really fuck with WWE now. It's back.
in the sense of like Gen Z really love this stuff. You go on Twitter and the people who are on there is a bunch of kids. There are and teenagers and young adults that are really fucking with wrestling again. And I think again it was that flip that switch where it was like we got to get the women front and center. We got to start building to the future, and we got to get characters up there that look fucking cool because everyone up there looks cooler than they used to look back in the day. It was a bunch of white dudes.
Yeah, and I think also it's the mediums in which wrestling is now available on, right? Like, it's never been more accessible than it's been now. Like, YouTube plays a big part of that. The WWE Network played a major part of that because it was like once the network started, $9.99, you can watch any show, any wrestling thing that you want ever. Like, I can go back to the era that I grew up in and watch wrestling from there. Oh yeah, I'm $9.99, and then from immediately there you're tapped in with WrestleMania. Oh, there's a pay-per-view coming up, let me go watch that. And now that when it's on Peacock, and I mean kind of wrestling in general just appearing on different mediums, you have like WoW that's appearing on, like, I think it was on like local affiliate CW. You have
it's on my Fox affiliate out here, I believe.
Yeah, and then you had AEW, which is on TBS and TNT, and like all these different ways where you can kind of consume it helped it just become bigger over the last number of years. And the thing with I feel like the popularity was starting to swell. I think internet helped a large part of it. I also do an anime podcast where anime's popularity is beginning to swell, and a lot of it has to do with social media and the conversation around it and how accessible it actually is. You had to go and you had to order tapes and you had to do things back in the day and all this other stuff. Now everything's available like right here. So yeah, it's super popular.
Or with anime, like you had to stay up till midnight to watch it on Cartoon Network. And just be months behind, and now that's not a thing anymore. Like, I think with wrestling, it's also, to Meelz' point, it's succeeding and joining that conversation. I think that WWE does a really good job on social media of staying within the conversation. Anything that happens, they have a wrestling moment for it. Anything that happens on their weekly shows, there's something that comes out. Working in marketing and working in comms has really showed me a different way of how companies look at how social metrics work and how marketing works. And to Meelz' point, he does so as well. Like, noticing that a company that is super tapped in with their product and knowing how their product can up level to social and up level to Instagram, TikTok, stuff like that. WWE is always first on these mediums, always, and there's always a section for it, but they also have really young talent there that are also tapped into that as well. So you'll see Cody, there's this African kid who reenacts moments on WWE programming, really talented kid, really funny kid, and like he did a Cody one time, and he does the smile, then the serious face that Cody does, and Cody saw it, and then he does a stitch with the kid where he's just kind of mentioning it's stuff like that where it's interactive in a way that it just didn't used to be. And I think joining that conversation, not just being adjacent, but actually one of the few companies that could just be like, we are in the conversation, has really helped the popularity of this stuff as well. And I mean, I'd be remiss to say that like they put themselves in situations like you saw the WWE belt all over the Grammys and all over the what was the All-Star game. You saw it wasn't the Grammys, it was the All-Star game, but like you saw it all
All-Star
over.
game, Super Bowl, everywhere. Like everywhere it wanted to be, it was.
It's a conversation, and because remember, like wrestling used to be like this backwoods, like back lot type thing. Back in the 90s, it was cool, but it really wasn't cool. Like it
wasn't cool. Turn on TV and Goldust was there, and you kind of got to figure out how to explain that to people. You know what I'm saying?
Like you never wanted somebody to walk in on you while some type of segment was going on, like some cringe shit. You're like, this is cool, I swear. Just wait till the next hour.
Even the stuff that you would think would be cool, like Sable's coming and then like she's tearing her top off and stuff. You got to explain that to someone who's walking in the room about why this lady's getting half naked in front of your, and you're just like sitting here watching it.
In the late 90s, wrestling had hopped onto that, not like the Generation Next stuff, but it was really like the Jerry Springer light type stuff. That was what was popping. But Jerry Springer itself wasn't really kind of looked at as a morally good thing to watch. You know what I mean? And this wrestling was TV-14. It was not PG. It was not accessible to everyone. As much as people want to laud the Attitude Era for being their gateway, it was a gateway for you in your market, in your demographic. Now WWE and to a certain extent AEW seeks to reach a larger demographic through the moves that they make, because they can't keep doing the same thing they did back in the late 90s. But now I would say that, like, and it's crazy to say, and people say that, you know, it's fucked up, it's a little bit more acceptable to watch this stuff now. It's a little bit more accessible, to Meelz' point, to watch this stuff now, because it's out there, you know what I mean? And you see celebrities show up, and you see, you know, a lot of people get it. Bad Bunny, need I say more? You know what I'm saying? Like, he made it. He's part of the reason why he made it cool again to watch this shit. He's coming out in old NWO shirts. He's coming out in wrestling gear. He's got Booker T in his videos. Ric Flair is in his videos. Again, it's like showing an appreciation. He's showing an appreciation for it, but wrestling gives back by putting out product that has different looking people on there and stuff like that. I think that diversity is definitely a large reason why it's so popular right now.
I'd been wondering, how much more could it possibly, like, what more can they do to get it accepted to the outsiders? Because you brought up anime, and I'm sure we're all around the same age range. Like, back in the day, in middle school, high school, you couldn't let the girls know you was into anime. They called you a fucking nerd. That was just like, don't even bring that up to them. But like nowadays, the girls be the first ones to tell you they love Naruto. They got their little book bags with the symbols and shit, and like the girls be watching all this type of shit, cosplaying, and I'm looking back like, yo, how did that flip? When did that happen? And I'm like, what? When is wrestling gonna be cool to everybody like that?
Are you talking about just women, or just like to everybody?
I mean, well, I mean, like when are the baddies gonna be like ringside of NXT, like they courtside? You know what I'm saying?
Hey, man, they add NXT.
Be real. Like, baddies is the Jerry Springer shit I was saying before. That's what baddies is right now. That's why that's not gonna happen. But be real, women fuck with wrestling. Women love Bianca Belair. Women love Sasha Banks or Mercedes Moné. Women love Roman Reigns. You know what I'm saying? It's already accepted in that way. Like, they might not be watching it week to week like us, but if it comes across the TV, they're gonna sit and stare and be like, that man looks so good. My like wife is always trying to find like the this is fucked up. She thinks Austin Theory's gay, and she thinks that Austin Theory she's made up her own storyline where Austin Theory is kind of like this boy toy to all the male wrestlers. It's specifically back when we were watching, when he was still in the company or whatever. She was like, oh, that's Vince McMahon's. That's his boy right there. That's his twink. And I was just like, well,
that's the Diddy and Meek of WWE.
She was on point with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you come out with it, she was more tapped in than you really think. You know what I mean? As to what was going on. But like, again,
I feel like wrestling in itself and just becoming much more widely accepted, it takes time, but I feel like we're heading in the right direction, and it's stuff that we talk about, like diversity. People seeing themselves in it is a big part of it. People see, not just kind of like, oh, this is just white guys wrestling and stuff like that. The nature that the fact that I think for the most part it's gone, I haven't heard it in a while, of people saying like, you still hear it you hear it once a year around WrestleMania. But the stigma of like, you like watching guys wrestle around oiled up in like tiny trunks, I feel like legitimately that kind of like thing is gone. And maybe it's because everyone's not wrestling in trunks anymore, to be honest with you. But there are these larger than life things that are drawing people in. And I think people are way more open to it. One, based on its accessibility, another based on its diversity. But like, I feel like how it becomes bigger, I mean, the way wrestling becomes bigger, ironically enough, is to step away from the actual wrestling part of it. Like, not having the wrestling part of it isn't the forefront. It's definitely the accent that adds to it and draws you in. It's like when you're rappers, you can say all the lyrical, miracle, spherical lyricals you can do, but it's really that performance that makes it. It's why Kendrick, Drake, and Cole are kind of like in a league of their own. It's the performance that it gives you rather than the actual like content itself. So it's like, I think it's only going to get bigger. We see it every week. The biggest moments in wrestling usually occur when no wrestling is actually going on. I think that's part of it, how it gets bigger, and it's already on its way. The people who are behind the scenes who know of how to capitalize on these things and also how to brand and market and stuff like that, they're doing probably the best job they can to make this thing happen.
I feel like the people that love wrestling the most are low-key the ones that don't even watch it. Like, you don't even know that you love it, or like, they're the first ones to be worked. You know what I mean? Like, I got my hair cut on Monday, and my barber, who never talks about wrestling, right? We talk about life, girls, all types of shit. Never wrestling, though. But, like, I went in there, and I've mentioned that I've been training. He knows I do wrestling. But, like, as soon as I walk in there, he's like, yo, you seen The Rock slap that nigga? Like, yo, The Rock wildin', right? Like, I'm about to start watching again. I'm like, well, where did this come from? I'm like, yeah. So
it's always been like an in the closet type thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you can't like tell people in public that you're watching. It's always been like this kind of embarrassed thing where it's like that's why you get that reaction when you wear the shirts in public, because it's like you're part of this secret society. It's not like wearing a Lakers shirt or a Knicks jersey out. It's like, it's not like that. And I think that what WWE is trying to do right now is make it socially acceptable where these types of things, you don't think twice about it. Just like the experience you had in the barbershop or the experience you had wearing the Roman Reigns shirt. Roman Reigns and the Bloodline have transcended that coolness. They're stone cold cool now. They're rock cool now, where it's accepted to be. But I think what WWE wants to do, they want everybody to be that cool, where you can wear a Rhea Ripley shirt and someone points at you and say, "Oh, mommy, she's always on top." Or you can wear a Cody shirt. I would say Cody probably is up there too. Like, they want you to be able to wear that, then wear their stuff, and you notice the characters, like in a way that you would notice someone wearing an Iron Man shirt or a Spider-Man shirt or a Batman shirt. Like, they want that type of recognition. I think we're getting there. I really do. I think this year's Mania is really a turning point mainstream wise in terms of where they're going with this TKO venture and what they do, because TKO also has UFC, right? So like, UFC is extremely noticeable. You see somebody wearing a UFC shirt, looks like an Affliction shirt, you don't bat an eye. They want that type of recognition, and I think that what they do with this Mania is very important to getting them there, especially with the first TKO WrestleMania being under their belt.
It's working out pretty well.
To wrap it all up, I'm hyped that pro wrestling is getting mainstream and popular again. I'm hyped that bars are back in the mainstream, because, you know, like Kendrick's old albums, I don't know if you've seen, they're up in the charts again.
Yeah, all of them.
I guess Gen Z folks or people that aren't really hip hop heads have tuned into this beef and are like, let me check out some Kendrick albums. And so like his albums are just like ranking up again, and it's cool to see. But I guess that's all there is to say about all of this.
Yeah, we can talk hours on this kind of shit. So we have.
I'm glad we could do this. To sign out, haven't really thought of a fucking intro, but you see the names on screen if you're watching on YouTube. The name is Immortal Storm and Nick.
Also known, a lot of social media and everything, dick in a box. That's besides the point.
Yeah. Hop on our squad, dick in a box on PlayStation. Kill niggas in Fortnite. But damn, we didn't even cover some Eminem shit. Houdini. We could do that next episode. There's a lot to discuss there.
Funny enough, right before this recording, we just got a dub. Just saying. Just put that out there.
Oh, yeah, we did. Yeah, Eminem put out Houdini, and that has been the only thing to bump Not Like Us off the #1 spot. Like, M and Kendrick, top 2 lyricists, just neck and neck on the charts.
Pushing back and
forth. Cool to see. Yeah. He's dropping that album anytime soon. We'll talk that. But as far as how I'm going to put out these episodes, certainly this will be episode 1. I have that one recording of ours where we were literally just shooting the shit, and I'm like, let me whip out my phone and press record. And there's a couple hours of just stories and bullshit. I'll put that out, and some of that DBZ talk, and hopefully we can be consistent and keep this shit rolling. But yeah, follow the socials in the description boxes and on screen or wherever you may see this uploaded. Yep. And support the show if you like what you heard, if you're trying to hear more hip hop, pro wrestling, nerd, comics, and all that good shit.
And if you don't, fuck y'all and your mama. Sorry.
You not like us.
Ah.